Welcome to topic 2, where we're talking about organizing the classroom environment. This video is going to be a lot shorter than the others because I've received some feedback that the videos are quite long and it's quite difficult to get through all the videos plus everything else I've provided. So for this topic, you have the YouTube video, the journal article, the other piece that I've written just around the organizing the classroom space, and then this slideshow. So not every slide in the slideshow will have sound, because I think that it's quite self-explanatory, but whatever I do add is just because I feel like there's a little bit of extra information I want to provide for you. So let's get started. The way you organize your classroom space is really important because it creates the climate and the learning type of feeling within the space. Students may feel strained or unmotivated if they're in a classroom space that is unimaginative and not very colorful. If there's broken windows, they don't respect the space because they feel like there's no respect put into the space. So the way you organize your classroom creates the atmosphere, the way you place your desks, or the desk all facing the front, the teacher is the most important. So it's very teacher-centered, or is it more student-centered where there's a different kind of classroom arrangement and desk arrangement within the space. As I said in the previous slide, the physical arrangement of the classroom is quite important. It helps you to see what the attitude of the teacher is. It creates an atmosphere for learners. It affects learner behavior because if they feel safe in the space, if they feel that there's good boundaries, the space is organized, the teacher knows what she's doing, they're less likely to act out because everything is on its place and they know what their place is within the classroom. This is just a nice little quote that I found in the Handbook for Qualities of Effective Teaching, quite an interesting book. Around what classroom organization is. So we will be focusing on 3 components of the classroom environment, namely the social component, the physical component, and the teaching or educational component. So when we talk about the physical component, we're talking about the classroom space, the furniture, the boards, the teaching aids, and so on. In terms of the social component, we're talking about the interactions between yourself and the students, or yourself, the teacher and the students to the students, and anyone else that comes into your classroom space. And of course, the educational or the teaching component talks about things like the content and the aims of the course, as well as the way the teaching and learning situations are arranged and how they take place, the way you plan your lessons, and the way you feel the students will best receive the learning that they need to receive. So these are some examples of what we use in this space. We talk about movable assets, fixed assets, and teaching aids. So movable assets, of course, are the things that you are allowed to or can arrange in the way that you feel will best suit your classroom management style. Your fixed assets obviously cannot be moved, but you can work around them and you can decorate them. And your teaching aids are the things that you bring into the classroom that are necessary for the students to receive the learning that they need to receive. This is self-explanatory, but there's just one or two points I'd like to make. Firstly, number 1, try to connect this learning space or the learning and teaching aims. So for example, in your classroom, if it's a science classroom, try to have science posters up, try to have models up. Even if it's not your own classroom, you can ask the classroom teacher if you can have one space just to put information about your specific course or your specific lessons on that area wall or on the cupboard or whatever space she does or he does provide you with. The other thing I want to say is very important is be aware of your student needs. If your child has a wheelchair, for example, make sure that the space allows them to easily navigate to get their wheelchair in. If the child can't hear or see, where are they placed in the classroom? Is that the best place to have them so that they can best engage with the lessons? If they have poor eyesight, poor hearing, it does make a big difference. The seating arrangements in your classroom is very important because they have an impact on your experience in the classroom and your students. So here's 2 quotes that I found around seating arrangements, but this is just opinions of 2 different teachers. What do you think, on some teachers, it's rather the opinion of some teachers, but what do you think about seating arrangements? Because everyone is different, there's no set way of thinking about it. You as a teacher will bring your own ideas and feelings into the space. There are many ways to seat students in your classroom and to arrange seating, but these are some of the ways that you can do it, and this is the use of it. So for horizontal roles, I use an example. It's great for independent work. It's very teacher focused, so the learner has to focus on the teacher and the teacher has to be the one that leads the lesson. So all of these have positives and negatives. It just depends on the use that you want to give it within your classroom and what you feel works best. If you had to ask me, for example, how I like to work best, I usually like my class arranged in a circle, or the students to be in groups of 4 or 6. I feel that allows for more interaction, because my classroom management style is a lot around interaction, workshop type lessons, and we will all get to speak and really understand what we want to do. So sometimes when I'm doing group work, it's going to be in groups of 4 or 6. When we have classroom interactions, it's usually in a circle where I'm part of the circle, or in a semicircle if I need to do a little bit more teaching rather than including myself in the conversation. So it just depends. You can change your classroom depending on what you want to do for the day. I've provided you with some examples of what the classroom can look like. I don't want to be prescriptive in telling you how you should do things, but I think that we are now trying to move away from all this facing the front to the teacher's desk in front as well. We're trying to become more learner-centered, and learner-centered is around getting students to interact with each other and to feel safe in the space. So that means maybe a little less of all to the front, eyes to the front, and more around group work, semicircles, or U-shaped desks arrangements. Also, another important aspect is your library or your reading area. Reading is of utmost importance within the classroom space, and it should have a special importance in your classroom when you're arranging the space. Another great example, please understand, I don't expect you to feel like you have to have all of these elements in your classroom, because a lot of us work at classes where there's not a lot of a lot of us work at schools where there's not a lot of resources. But we can do with what we have. So are the donations? Do we know people who are giving away shelving or giving away paint, bean bags, big pillows, crates? We can use these things in artistic ways. We can even ask our students to help us think of ways to repurpose items. And in that way, they get involved in the classroom arrangement. I think in that video, if you watched it quite closely, you could see they used a canoe and they just added some padding, and that was seating. So just rethink the way, you look at how to arrange a classroom. Again, maybe not possible in our classroom spaces, but an interesting way to think about arranging a classroom space, especially for quite small kids. You have completely different areas, as you can see. This is quite a few kids I can see from this picture, but you can see there are different areas, different playing areas. Especially with small kids, it's nice to separate your room into different areas. The use of carpets also help you to designate certain areas for different things. This is a very fancy classroom, but the windows, what we do on the windows, do we have colored pictures on our windows? Do we have color see-through cellophane paper on the windows? Make it interesting. Use every part of your classroom in an interesting and fun way. Some teachers use classroom arrangement to manage students within their classroom space. So that means that you'd put the more talkative kids at some place, disruptive kids at another place. So it depends. If you're someone that is going to tell kids where to sit, you can then use this to manage the kids that you find are a little bit more disruptive. But otherwise, you can tell students they can sit wherever they want to, but if they do not behave the way they expected to behave, they can be moved. So it's really up to you as a teacher. So the elements of a student-centered classroom environment is important. Number one, I feel like having adaptive classroom environment is quite important, or adaptable one. Because if you're doing different activities, as I said previously, you can change the classroom accordingly. So if you have a group activity, your desk can be in group. If we have a report back and a big event where everyone is talking to the whole class, where they're presenting to the class, you can have a horseshoe or a circle arrangement. Let the seating be flexible. Just allow for a lot of freedom within structure and within boundaries. Moving away from the big teacher desk and the bulky desk, try to have a smaller teacher work area. I know teachers really love their desk and love their space, but it takes up a lot of the room area. Rather try to have a U-shaped desk, maybe where students can sit and do reading on the side, where it's not something that is not multifunctional, but use your desk as another area of learning, doing mini lessons, doing read alouds, and so on. Make sure your materials are easily accessible and available. Try to include technology into your lessons because we are in the technology age, so it just doesn't make sense to shun technology. And importantly, have a literally rich environment, which means encourage reading, encourage words, have the word of the day or word of the week up, have synonym of the week up, have definitions on the wall. It's just really encourage children to learn to read and learn the meaning of words. These are some benefits of organizing the space for students. And this is around organizing the space and how it benefits teachers. Some of these are quite long-term benefits you don't initially think about. So, for example, if your space is very well organized, it reduces teacher fatigue because the teacher doesn't spend lots of time looking for things and trying to find where to put things, but they know where everything is. And it's quite colorful, and therefore the teacher feels more enthusiastic about being in the classroom and not as tired at the end of the day. Working in some of the community schools that we do, a lot of these things are things we will find within our classroom space, and they hamper us creating a favorable or a positive classroom environment. So it's overcrowding, there's not good lighting, the school doesn't have a good discipline policy, etc. But if you're a creative teacher, you can make anything work. There are many teachers that are teaching under a tree, and the students are able to feel part of the environment. So it's really about what you create, the space and the feeling that you create for your students. And be creative, look for donations, look for things that others are not using anymore that you can maybe incorporate into your classroom. Now, I don't expect you to have your classroom look exactly like this, but I thought I'd use this as some ideas for what you can do. Use different elements. This is colored paper that they made into a decoration. These are things that you'll usually find in a classroom where you put papers in. Instead of using one color, use various colors. This "You Are Loved" in the corner here. Have pot plants maybe on tables. Kids can take care of it, and it helps you to number your desks. Just incorporate lots of color, fun, creativity, excitement into your classroom space. We don't have all the resources and money, but we do have great imaginations. I like the idea of having welcome to on the first day. So it could be a welcome to grade 1, welcome to grade 2. The kids just feel like you're excited that they're there, that you looked forward to them coming to the classroom. I just love that idea so much. I also love this capital letter, full stop, quotation marks, explanation card with a little kid there as well. It is a really great way to help your kids remember what a full stop is, what a capital letter is, when do we use it. Instead of asking you all the time, they kind of lead their own learning, and kids will tell each other, oh no, you're using the full stop wrong, let's go look on the wall and I'll show you that you're not using it in the right way. This is also a nice way to get kids to learn things, and you don't have to constantly repeat yourself all the time. These are some of the references I have used. I must admit they are not all. There are 1 or 2 website references that I need to include, but unfortunately wasn't able to add it as yet to this list. I will provide them or make them available to you on Moodle. Good luck with this topic. It's quite interesting. Do some more reading and ask teachers that you know what they feel about classroom arrangement and organizing the classroom space, because they will have their own feelings, thoughts, and ideas on the topic too. In terms of your assignment, please make sure you don't copy what you've seen, but use it as a guideline on how to do your assignment. You will have 2 separate sheets. One sheet will be a positive learning environment, the other one a less positive one. They should be structured quite differently, and you should explain why each element is on your page, and that obviously the explanation will be on separate pages where they will have the label. The label will be both in the drawing and on your explanation sheet. You'll explain why the seating is the way it is, why you've put the table there. Everything will be explained, and I really want to see your thought process and your ideas behind why exactly everything has its space. Good luck. If you have any questions, please again ask questions. Don't feel like you have to do the assignment blindly. I'm facilitating your learning, and therefore I should facilitate the process of everything that you do. If you feel the need to ask me, if you feel like you're good on your own, you are more than welcome to go ahead and do what you think is best. Good luck, guys.